Take two. I just did a 20-minute video with absolutely zero audio. Guess I have to do an audio check in the morning. So, good morning. This is what we got today. Talk about the stock market. Where it is, where it's been, and where it should be. Obviously, all my opinion. And I'm not a stock market professional. Nor have I ever played one on TV. But you're listening to Rambling with Joe, so I assume that you're curious. I went through a bunch of things during my first attempt at this video this morning. I won't have to go through them because I was thinking through some things. The stock market, originally, as was taught to me in high school, was a place where investors could go to invest in companies that they believed in and thought would bring them a return. That's not what it is anymore. What it is now is a place where people go to make money. That's it. If you are a 401k holder like myself, you're there to make money for your retirement. Which stocks do you own? I believe the vast majority of you will say, well, I own this group of stocks. What stocks are in there? Most of us have no clue. We'd like to, purchase ethical stocks, but I don't have the time to watch my portfolio manager's movements, what he's investing in. As most people do, I have invested in a 401k through my company. So it's gotten very convoluted how it works now. Short calls, buying on the margins. I'm not even aware of all the terms. I do know that short calls is a bet against the company. Don't think that's what the stock market was designed for. If you're doing a short call, what you're hoping is the company will fail and you will get other people's money, other investors' monies. So Acme makes a widget. You hope, you do a little bit of research and you say, hey, this company sucks. They're going to go under. But all these people are investing in them. So I'm going to do a short call. And you do the short call and then the company fails and all the investors' money slides over to you. That's not investing in a company that you hope succeeds. That's investing in a company you hope loses. I have no respect for that particular action. The GameStop fiasco brought that to the light of the public at large. And it put a lot of short call people in the outs. They were messed over, and I don't really have any sympathy for them because I think that they were betting on a company losing. Well, you lost. You bet, you lost. So, yeah, it's not where it's supposed to be. The stock market, as was taught to me, as I believe it was intended to do, was supposed to be someplace you invested in a company that you believed would be successful but needed capital to do the business. So they sold stock. You bought the stock in hopes of a return from a successful company. Which company are we talking about now? Which companies are making products? Well, because of unfettered greed, making sure the cats aren't attacking. Because of unfettered greed, we've allowed all of the manufacturing, a lot of the service to go overseas. A lot of people are very upset at Trump right now for doing these tariffs. I'm not a big fan of tariffs. However, I do think that these tariffs are definitely showing one thing, and definitely we are missing it from the stock market. Why are the stocks taking a dive? Well, if the tariffs were only affecting the part of the economy that was coming from overseas or from other countries, why would the stocks take a dive? Well, that's simple, because most of our services and products come from overseas. So on that front, I think Trump is right. Most of those things have moved away from our country. Are we going to bring them back? Is that why the stock's taking a dive? The global economy? We don't do anything locally. I bought an American flag. I had to do a lot of research to find a company that made the American flag in America. I found one. I paid more than I wanted to. That's not true. I paid what was appropriate. I paid for an American product. I paid enough for the American product to support the owners of the flag factory and the people that worked within that factory. I could have gotten the flag probably for 1/8 of the cost, but it felt wrong. It felt like I was buying a flag, most of them made in China, that was probably made through slave labor. Even if they paid the employees anything, it was a pittance. So I bought an American flag. It's not easy to find American made, and that's because slave ships no longer look like, well, they are no longer people haulers. What they are product haulers. But that container ship, make no mistake, that container ship is probably, or it may be, not probably, but it may be a slave ship. Our slaves are offshore now. Our slaves are out of country. That's not acceptable. The stock market may fall further. I'm not exactly okay with it, but I understand it. Take a step back. Look at where all these companies are getting their labor from, where they're getting their resources from. Are they being ethical? Are they someone that you want to support anyway? Do you want to support someone or a company that is outsourcing their labor and getting their materials from a unethical country, a immoral country, a country that is okay with slave labors? It's a hard thing to accept that we're willing to do that, but we've been willing to do that. We're doing it now. So I'm not okay with the stock market crashing and burning. I understand it. I'm not blaming Trump for the stock market dropping. I'm blaming Trump and Biden and Obama. Just take it all the way back to Nixon. Hell, take it further than that. We should not be using slave labor, whether it's in this country or it's in another country. Yeah, things are going to get more expensive. The economy will have to correct itself. I had a discussion a number of years ago about migrant labor coming up from Mexico to do jobs that Americans weren't willing to do. Well, that's not true. They are willing to do it. They're not willing to do it for $1.50 an hour. You can't expect someone to pick peaches for $1.50 an hour. You have to be able to afford the product that you're creating. If you're within the industry, I think it was Ford that said something along those lines. You can't create a car that your employees can't afford to buy. It's pretty simple. If you can't create a product that your employees can't afford to buy, you can't afford to make the product. That's capitalism. Unless, of course, you can offshore it and use slave labor. It's a filthy reality, and all of our hands are dirty. I understand. You have to live within a ecosystem that this is the only thing you can purchase. Hell, I'm talking on a phone that was made in China. I'm using a gimbal that was made in China. Can't find them in America. Anyway, the stock market's going to continue to fail until we start realizing we need to invest in ourselves before we can help others. If you don't have a home, you're not worried about the homeless guy down the street. You're worried about getting a home. If you don't have shelter for your family, you're not worried about the guy down the street who doesn't have a shelter. You're worried about you getting a shelter. After you get a shelter, now you can empathize with the guy down the street and you can help him or her. This is just common sense. Our economy is flailing. It's a flop. And that's a leader issue. Oh, people aren't willing to work. Well, but okay. If you're giving them everything, why would they be? I've worked hard my whole life. It's just who I am. It's how I function. I don't want what's not mine. And I don't want to have to work with a company that is not ethical. I no longer work with Allstate. I am no longer insured at any place. A 21-year customer, gone. Allstate's history. If they go out of business, I won't shed a tear. If they go bankrupt, you get what you deserve. Treat your customers right. But the products and services that have gone overseas, I'm not talking about the products and services that have gone to an ethical country. Let's say Canada. Been to Canada many times. Done business with Canadian factories many times. Their employees all seemed happy. They were making a living wage. They were doing their thing. The Chinese factories that I've seen, that we invested in, those people are not real happy. One of the most amazing stories I ever heard was the iPhone factory where they had to put up nets to keep people from committing suicide off the top of the building and off of a bridge. And then an Apple representative, I think it was Apple, said the employees of this factory have no higher a suicide rate than any other factory. Okay, but they're working for you in a factory. Shouldn't the suicide rate be lower? Exponentially lower? That story was hushed and disappeared rather quickly. But there you go. That's what we're facing. I don't think the stock market is failing because of Trump's tariffs. I think the stock market is failing because the companies that have invested so much in cheap labor and products are recognizing that they have to change their ways, that they are being called out. I'm not a fan of tariffs. I think that capitalism should be allowed to take care of business. I am a fan of protecting the innocent. And we can't protect the innocent in a slave factory overseas. So, the only way to do anything about that is to not do business with them. That's a harsh reality. But it's where I see things as they are right now. Kind of a dark subject today. Yesterday was kind of a rough day on me. Started off pretty good. Started off with a yeehaw, let's go, let's take this on, but ended up being kind of a rough day. Persevere. We shall persevere. We shall continue. This is how we get things done. We keep going. Tomorrow I'd like to talk about the guillotine movement. There's lots to talk about there. Not just the actual guillotine movement, but there's lots to talk about there. And where we're going as a country. But that's for tomorrow. Today, I'm going to drink my cup of coffee, put on my work shoes, throw on my work uniform, and go to work. But first, I'm going to drink this cup of coffee. I hope you have a great cup of coffee, a great day, and I hope you find peace, love, and dreams. See you next time.